This is Jim's Take. Welcome to Jim's Take. Thank you for joining yet again. And again, we have a phenomenal guest for you. I do so much work to make sure the guests for you are relevant and good. And I'm going to tell you something very, very real and helpful. And it's no different today. Today, I am thrilled to be joined by Janine from Brya. Brya is an in-person social organization for people over 50 and helping people build a good social health for when they're over 50. So I'm very excited. So much to talk about here today. Janine, welcome to Jim's Take.
Thank you so much, Jim. It's a pleasure to be here.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about Brya. Give us kind of an overview so that we can really get to the good meat of it.
Okay, great. I am a serial entrepreneur, a tech entrepreneur. I've been building tech businesses my whole career. I also have 5 kids, and so I have juggled a lot, and I've learned to juggle a lot. And after I had a nice run with one of my previous tech companies, I actually thought to myself, it's time to slow down a little bit and enjoy life. And I actually hit a tough moment in realizing that we think a lot about, what it's going to be like to have a little bit more time. And it's not always what it's cracked up to be, and I want it to be. And so Brya is a little bit of a brainchild and birth out of that personal transition that I had.
Slowing down has built a business, and it's kind of, many people think of slowing down in a very different way, which I think is probably what we're going to talk a little bit about today. Why, what drew you to social health, social wellness, building this kind of in-person community idea? Where was that born out of, and what drove you to do something like that?
Okay, I'm obsessed with longevity as a concept. I both personally and now professionally, I think about health. I'm a biker. I've explored probably most of the diets, not as from a weight loss perspective, but from a health perspective out there. Vegan for many years, then wasn't, and so I think a lot about my physical health and what I eat and how I exercise, and I think a lot about my mental health. How do you stay really sharp? And I realize that those are critical pillars to living long and living well. But there's a third one that hit me hard, and it's, should be no shock to anyone out there, and that's your social health. It's not only how active we stay, but how we forge meaningful connections, and those in person, and that is such a critical piece of this. Those in-person connections, I think, are the third pillar to having a meaningful, long, and good life, a good health span. And that's really where this all started. It's on my own personal journey, and now I want to extend that personal journey to everybody in the world.
Janine and I have so many things in common, first of all. So she has 5 kids. I'm one of 6 kids. But if you read the book, Adapting Emotion, there were 3 pillars in preparing for change: physical, mental, and social. And I don't think people typically think of social health as a health component. Do you have talk to me a little bit about why social health? How is social health linked to longevity? What made you make that kind of connection?
It seemed obvious to me. I think in my own world, my community became my family. I live very far from family, and the friends I made became so critical to my to my happiness. I would find myself towards the end of a day, if I wasn't social, very like a feeling of what did I do today? What did I accomplish? So I found it personally, but as I started reading more and more, I realized how documented this is, right? It's like how it's linked to actual dementia, strokes. I think, I don't remember if it was the AARP or the Surgeon General, but linked loneliness or being isolated to smoking multiple packs of cigarettes a day. So it's actually statistically out there, and it's not surprising, but it is a little bit surprising that it would actually matter so much, not just in terms of your quality of life, because quality of life is kind of obvious, but actually in your physical health. And
it starts to define a little bit of the person that you become. A lot of people, especially now with the virtual world we live in, and social connection is really on almost a cliff. It's gone off the cliff. People confuse loneliness with solitude, and they claim to like solitude almost as a barrier or a cushion over the fact that they might be lonely. So when we think about that and the need for in-person, right? We live on social media. It's called social media, which I think is probably a load of BS. It's an interesting kind of way that they've positioned it over time. Why in person? So I've got ideas on in person, but what drew you to say, it's got to be in person, and how do you get past that loneliness stuff?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I hear it all the time. People are like, "Don't get me off of social media. I don't want to be. I don't want to meet people and think that these are meaningful connections if I can't sit with them." I myself, it was interesting during COVID, everything moves over to Zoom, right? And you're doing everything on Zoom, and lots of people are like, "Oh, it's just as good. It's just as good." And I'm like, "No, but it's really not." And then I start having these face-to-face meetings. You and I met, and we met on Zoom, and then we met face-to-face, and it's a completely different kind of connection. You go deeper. You feel, you get to know each other differently, and it simply isn't a replacement. Online relationships are not a replacement. They are a nice supplement. It is good to have, you can't always be out and about, but it's absolutely not a replacement. Inertia is a powerful force. It's easier not to go anywhere. It's easier not to do anything. It's easier to stay back. And I don't think a lot of people will say they're lonely. I didn't feel lonely, but there's other feelings that you do have when you're not exposed to in-person connections that drive you to a place. Certainly you have less joy. Certainly and Brya has a lot to do with having joy out of life, and purpose out of life, and things that you're happy to share and things that you're happy to talk about. So loneliness is kind of an outcome that happens, but it's not necessarily the driver. Right,
and it's not the only thing. There's so many reasons why you need that good social kind of interaction, and you're right. We communicate in so many ways besides just the words and besides just the screen, right? The body language and all that stuff, and there's some kind of sixth sense that happens in person.
It's powerful. It really is.
It's very, very powerful. Brya is designed for people over 50.
Yeah.
Why
it's kind
people
of an
over
arbitrary
50?
number. So I think about, we at Brya think about the transitions in life where points that we can really come in and make a big difference happen. And two of the most notable transitions are, when your last kid leaves the house, for those of us who have kids, retirement. These are moments where the social anchors disappear. So family is a social anchor, and work is a social anchor. Some of those people you meet up with across your days might be your good friends, and you might not even like them much at all, but the water cooler talk and the dropping off kids and seeing other parents or whatever it is, they really do anchor us to a schedule and a structure that ends up being good for most people. That goes away, what happens? So, it's not necessarily like this set in stone number, but we're trying to build something that is more meaningful for people that understand that those transitions are dramatic and need a replacement. And so it's kind of, I'd love to say like we're here for those transitions in life, but we sort of drew a number, and you got to start somewhere.
No, it's a good number. Yeah, you have to start somewhere. But you're right. I feel, if you go through the decades, your 20s, the world is your oyster. You're still going through changes, of course, and everything else. 30s, you might start the family. It's a different type of one, but you're starting something that you've created. 40s, you're nurturing that. And then 50s, a lot of those things start to be taken away. And I think that's you lose a sense of purpose sometimes. You're looking at retirement. What am I going to do with my time? The kids are going away. You've lost potentially the friends of that were parents of your kids' friends, and everything seems to go. So you really have to take a certain type of responsibility to dictate. And I'm 50 years old. I got another 40 years of my life. It's almost another double of my life. Yeah. What am I going to do to enjoy this time? And how do I surround myself with people? But also, I think one of the things you said before is so many other people are going through similar challenges. Yeah. And there's comfort in that. When you're able to build a network of people who have similar challenges or similar interests, and you start to, the rules have changed a little bit where there are no rules. And you could start to have a lot more fun. You're not hindered by the fact that the kids are young and need to be driven everywhere and all that. You've got this time to do whatever you want. It's all opportunities. And it can be a very, very exciting time. And I think that's what you're looking to put Brya into that place.
Yeah, actually, it's interesting because at the beginning, we were saying slowing down. And that's not the right term. It's not necessarily slowing down at all. As a matter of fact, we have the most opportunities ahead of us. It's just more time. And how do you fill that time? Like a lot of us think about financially, like where do we need to be financially to be okay? But then very few of us say, like, how are we actually, other than the bucket list that a lot of people have, what are we really going to do? How's that day-to-day work out to feel good? And you hit on also that other word, which is purposeful. What does it really even mean? It's sort of, to me, to everyone, it means something different. But like, you sort of want to get to the end of your day and feel good about your day. Feel like, oh, that was a nice day. So enjoyment and purpose, like, I want to have a story to tell about my day and not talk about things from 10 years ago. I want to share that with others and have people be able to experience like enjoyment of their time. And so we can't always be on that vacation in Paris, right? We really just have to. So every day has to be a day that has good things in it, and I'd like to be a part of that journey with the people that we have the opportunity to touch.
Right, do lots of experiences and get new things. And I know every time, I'm not a big social person. My wife says, you have to come out. And I never want to go. She pulls me kicking and screaming. But always after getting together with people, you leave me say, that was actually a pretty nice time. Yeah. And it really does enhance everything. But so many people are kicking and screaming to the social thing. It's very difficult for adults to make friends. Right. Especially for those adults who may not have kids, right? Because normally when you have kids, you can be friends with other parents, yep, or something like that. But when the kids are gone and everything else, it's difficult to
reestablish yourself.
Reestablish and say, this is who I am, and mm-hmm, love me for who I am, and be that, yep, kind of person. Brya can help with that in a certain sense, where you can almost facilitate these matches with people based on interest, based on similar situations, whatever it is.
Yep. And it's probably many of us have had the experiences of, I call it ninth grade, right? Ninth grade with the lunch tray, and you walk into the room and you're like, where do I sit? And it's like the scariest, worst feeling in the whole world. And when you're in ninth grade, even though you're not really wanting that experience, but it's understood. When you're 50 and when you're 60 and when you're 70, that the feeling of, I don't want to get to a place and feel uncomfortable isn't any less. It's actually so much worse, because I'm now at a point in my life, like, no way, I'm not going to do that. So how can we lower the barriers so that you're comfortable? Like, there's many platforms out there that offer, events, come do something. There's no lack of things that you could do if you want to get out there and do something. The question is, how comfortable are you going to be going? And that comfort level could be going with a close friend, or it could just going with somebody that you would enjoy being with for that evening, or a few people. So our goal is to really help navigate both from where would you like to be, what would you like to be doing on a weekly basis, on just a one-off basis, on a, with regularity, and who'd you like to be doing that with, and how can we constantly help you evolve by getting to know you and understand your needs? What kind of person are you? Your preferences? Who do you enjoy being with? And continuously, it's not just like, oh, let me match up these two people and send them on their way. A continuous flow of learning, hearing from you, and then helping you again navigate, where do I want to be? And who would I enjoy being with, so that those places that you want to go to, or didn't think you wanted to go to, but you might like, feel really comfortable. And if we can help you feel comfortable, then the opportunities just open more and more.
I think that's what I love about it, is that it brings, it covers the event space, but it focuses on the human being going to it. Yeah. Right? If you talk to most people, say, hey, do you want to go to this? And you go in by yourself, and they're like, no, there's just no. And to break that barrier, to say, go find this person. All of a sudden you have, all right, I have an anchor on which to go, and you're going around and doing that. And there's such a comfort level, because you know that person's looking for you too. Yes. And now all of a sudden you have, may not be your best friend, right? But whatever, but you could spend this hour, 2 hours, whatever it is, with these people.
But the goal is, it's interesting, because I'm sure that everyone has experienced the moment where you do walk in somewhere, you feel a little uncomfortable, you see someone who feels a little uncomfortable, you start talking, but you're sort of stuck in that conversation, and now you're like, okay, this actually isn't the best match. What do I do? And our goal is, how do we set you up ahead of time? Like, chat online a little bit. Here's what you have in common. Do these few people feel right? Oh, you've met this particular person before, and you've noted that is a person who you had found connection and enjoyment with. Like, let's try to make it really as good as we can. And if we don't get it right, let's keep trying to iterate together with you as a partner, right? Like, we have technology today that's really brilliant at hearing and listening and helping us evolve. So we get the combination of the human touch and the AI touch behind the scenes, and together that can help formulate, hopefully, places not only to go to that are enjoyable, and people to go with that make you more comfortable, but a really good experience.
And a sustained one too. I think this is, I mean, it's not like it's a one-off, you find your date and you get married and then you're off the dating apps, right? It's this matchmaking, ongoing matchmaking. You're not just looking for one person, you're looking for a committee almost. You're looking for your people. And this can evolve over time, and you can meet new people and new people and new people. And if you like these people, you can do more with them.
And think about the one-off thing. Like I know this is a little bit of a random example, but you're walking your dog every day at 9 o'clock and you go to a certain dog park. That could be a nice outdoor experience, but it also could be a social experience. What if I know a few other people in the neighborhood that match well with you on a couple levels, who are also around those same dog parks with their dogs, right? Like there's so many touch points throughout your life that can be, if you're trusting and daring, that you can do. There's also total different example. There's a movie out there that you'd love to go see, or a cafe you'd love to explore. I don't know. It doesn't always feel good to be like, oh, let me ping a few people and see if they'd like to go with me. There's a rejection element, or there's just, again, inertia is not to. But put it out there to us. Like, let us help you. And you know what? Some of those experiences actually lead to interesting other experiences and other opportunities. And we keep talking about opportunities. So you have time. Let's explore together.
I love that, where you can just put it out there. The emotional risk that comes with trying to meet new people. That's it's a great way to put it, right? The fear of rejection and all of that. And I love that. I want to go see this band. Does anybody want to see some random jazz band or something like that? And there are people there, right? Who have similar interests, and it's almost like you're helping people find their people. Yeah.
For each aspect of your life, like you might have your people for bridge and your people for squash and your people for running, and they might be completely different people. And then you might be passionate about longevity or AI or technology or something completely different. And you have your groups who really are all different. And that's also kind of cool, that you can have your different people for different things. So how does it work in your life?
Yeah, that's great. Now, how about people I guess I think of this in a way where you're helping introverts. A lot of people self-identify as introverts, and they use that as an excuse to not be social, right? Well, I'm introverted, so it's not really, and this is why I don't have good relationships, or, whatever. You hear that a lot, especially in my type of industry, this idea of introversion. But this will facilitate for any type of person, because introversion is more of, I don't like big crowds. Yeah. You can help them with the more intimate type of 2 to 3 people, whereas an extrovert maybe likes the big crowd, or, needs to meet different types of people or anything else. Talk to me about how you kind of profile people. Do you self-identify as an introvert? Do you self-identify, you just put a bunch of interest in? Like, talk to me a little bit about the engine.
We do ask people a lot of questions, and but even more important than asking people questions, because the whole introvert extrovert thing is such a interesting and broad topic. And like, if you ask me, I'll actually tell you I'm an introvert. And if you tell people, like my friends, that, they'll be, are you crazy? You are so not an introvert. But actually, if you put me in a crowd, I'm going to find my way to the back of the room, find one person to talk to. A friend of mine once said to me, introverts, they are defined that they might be able to be very vocal, but being inside of a crowd kind of drains you. Yeah. And extroverts, being inside of a crowd, energizes you. So are you drawing from the pot, or are you adding to the pot? So we do ask people, but I think the more interesting thing is to watch how people actually behave. We are constantly trying to learn and ask you questions that help us get to know you. And now what I'd like to be is something that guides every single person on their own individual journey. Now, there's probably not unlimited amounts of journeys, and there's certainly not unlimited amounts of possibilities that a company can support. But there is a range of types of people out there, and for each person, lowering the barrier to getting them comfortable is a different point. And so our goal is, again, what have you communicated to us about your comfort level that we can help you with? For some people, they just want a very, small one-on-one relationships. And so some people, they really like big crowds, but make sure I feel comfortable and important in there. And so Brya allows you to be that individual and still succeed on the journey.
There's you use the word barriers a lot, and I like it. It's I just heard recently a Rumi quote on love, where love is everywhere. It's natural. So you don't go seeking for love. You seek the barriers you put up to it, because the barriers are not natural. And I feel like being social is the natural. I mean, our brains evolved that way to be social. The front part of the brain is the social part of the brain. It is the natural way that we are supposed to be. but over time and assumptions and judgment and experiences, we put up barriers to that particular type of thing.
Yeah.
How would someone get started, or how would you suggest someone get started where they just say, look, I've been at home for a long time. You know, they're listening to this podcast. They say, all right, you know what? I probably should get out and meet someone. I'm not ready to rip the Band-Aid and do anything crazy, but I kind of want to dip my toes in it. How can Brya help?
How could you get started? The great thing about us is today we're still, we're still so intimately involved with every member that comes on board. We're really human. We really have a strong human touch. So if someone goes to our website, they go to brya.com, they sign up, and they start their journey with us, we have a lot of touch points where someone can reach out and have a conversation. They can start by meeting a few people online. They can start by going to one or two things or getting involved in one or two groups. And immediately, once you do something on Brya, we're very interactive with you. How was that? Who did you like? And we don't really say who did you like, but who would you like to see again? Like who, and you've told us that this kind of activity is a sort of thing you like. But you've also told us that this person was really inspiring. They're doing something else and something else. Would you like to go with them to this kind of event? So we really are there on a journey with you, and getting started is so easy with us. You just log on and join. You just become a member, and there's no barrier to becoming a member except for motivation, right? We're not a spectator sport, right? There's apps out there. You want to just go attend an event, you can go check things out. We're really somewhere where people who are motivated to enjoy and to participate and be social should come.
Right. Socially healthy, right?
Yeah.
Build up that kind of person. There's so many, just so many applications for this in terms of, and speaking to corporate, I speak to a lot of businesses about, the social wellness of your employees, especially with everybody working remotely. Healthcare and the health problems. You talked about the challenges with smoking and how being lonely is just as bad as being smoking. I mean, I feel like there's so many ways that you could probably interact with Brya.
We really encourage our members themselves to be very, very active. Like, I believe that, every single person has something interesting about them and something that they don't even know is interesting about them and things they want to share. And our goal is to help people continue to elevate to their level of participation. So you want to just be a participant? Go ahead. You can participate. That's fine. We welcome you. But you want to be a little bit of a leader, there's opportunity, right? I mean, you don't have to be intimidated we really lower the intimidation. Do you want to be a liaison? Do you want to bring other people along with you? Do you want to be an ambassador? There's all sorts of paths that we help members take so that they themselves become the platform. This is not, I am only one voice, right? I'm my own voice. I've had my experiences. I've watched my parents have their experiences, which are completely different experiences, but both extremely interesting. I've spoken to our members who are such fantastic and fascinating people with so many different personalities, to your point earlier. Some who just want to dance, others who have come to New York City and have found that their worlds have gotten smaller because they made a certain choice to move. And all, as you get to know their backgrounds, either what they've done professionally or things that they've been interested in, they have so much to share. So we really breed like a lot of opportunities for people to bring their interests to others and to really rise. And so my dream is that the platform becomes a place where people can be whoever they want, lead whoever they want, do whatever they want, and obviously with all sorts of structure around it, but it's really about members themselves.
I love that, and it's something to be excited about. I'm proud of the things that you're interested in.
Yeah.
And for people to do that, I mean, I'm thinking back to, with all the interests and hobbies that people have. I had a guest on this podcast a long time ago where he was just fascinated with French Navy watches. And he collects French Navy watches. But all these people, it's fascinating, the detail and all this. And he travels around the world collecting French Navy watches, and each one's got a story. And it would just be amazing to just meet a person like that and say, oh, tell me about French Navy watches. So everybody's got something that people want to listen to. And if you're excited about something, you can kind of draw those people in. And
it could be anything, Jim. Like we have a guy who came from Martha's Vineyard. And I'm like, you've lived there for I don't remember how many years, a few decades. I'm like, why don't you just give a whole little coffee talk about people who want a vacation there? Tell them how to vacation there. Like, you don't even think of that in his all his interesting things that he has to give. I'm like, there's so many things that people have to share with others that others like find both fascinating and actually very useful. And so again, I love that part of getting to know people.
Yeah, everyone's got a story, and a good story. That's good, and a lot to share. What are the final thoughts for everybody besides come to Brya and join an event?
Final thoughts are really about like us as humanity, right? Us about all of a sudden in these recent decades, we have found there's something new has happened, which is there is many years that we have between having more free time and maybe having some things that actually slow us down. And I think that the thing that we need to focus on is what makes for every one of those individuals these years good, and what we need to help us have these fantastic years, because the world can, life is long, like make it count, right? Make it meaningful. And I think it's really about people being very, very self-aware of what is really happening now, not being afraid. I don't suggest anyone needs to come out and be like, oh, I'm lonely, because sometimes you are, sometimes you're not. But in any case, there's nothing negative about it. It's like, what is my current opportunity, and how can I be extremely, self-aware and dare to step into places that are going to enhance my life, because there's a lot of hopefully good decades for people to really be exploratory. And I think that's what this is really all about.
I love that thought. I love the whole, right, we always go to the negative. Right, I'm lonely. Somebody help me fix it, and it's more of an opportunity. Yeah. Right, it's more of this really good way to spend your next couple of decades. And the goal is, like, you ever sit with somebody and maybe in their later years of life, they talk a lot about the past, and I'm like, that's great. The pasts are great. But, like, give them a reason to also talk about the present. Like, the present is also great. Yeah, it is. That's true. Good. So thank you, Janine, for being here. Everybody, check out Brya. I'll put the website on the website and in the podcast notes and everything else. Brya, in-person, social interactions for those wonderful people over 50. You've got such a long life ahead of you and so much opportunity. Take control of it and do it. Sign up. Thank you again, Janine. Thank you, everybody, for listening. And as always, I wish everybody well, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks.